had this great idea of getting up early. Gotta be quiet because the wife's still sleeping. But telling people how I make coffee, and it's still 2 hours before I have to leave. So I don't think this was such a great idea.
New York City. This is a place I've always wanted to visit. I've got family there, lots of friends that live there, and it's just a really cool city. And tucked away there's MoMA, the Modern Museum of Art. You know what else is in MoMA? Some really cool coffee makers. I mean, MoMA's got this hand-blown Marks & Wagenfeld Syntrax coffee maker. It's a siphon coffee maker, but look at it. It's a beautiful piece of work. And also MoMA has this really cool scientific looking piece by Berend. This is another siphon coffee maker, but again, it's another piece of art. Another beautiful piece that's earned a permanent home at MoMA is the Richard Sapper designed Rocket Espresso Maker, made by the world-renowned company Elisi. Not heard of Elisi? Well, they also make the Mocha Pot. And last, but certainly not least, another gorgeous piece that has its home in the Modern Museum of Art permanently, like forever, is the Chemex. The Chemex was designed in 1941, and I hope I don't mess up his name, but it's by Dr. Peter Schlumbaum. Not only does glass look amazing, it was lauded at the time for being conscious of the World War II effort for using alternative materials to metal. One of Dr. Schlumbaum's goals was to make brewing the perfect cup of coffee repeatable and perfect every time. That led him to invent the bonded paper filter, which he found was a great way to extract the perfect cup of coffee from the beans every time. Also, being from Germany, he was really inspired by the Bauhaus movement. So in all of his designs, he wanted them to be simple and clean and elegant, and thus the shape of the Chemex. And what also is really cool is the glass he used. He determined that he wanted to make sure it imparted no flavor of its own. I aim for 24 to 26 grams of beans, and I aim for about 310 to 320 grams of water. I often like my temperature just under boiling. Stop it right there. That's right, a spoon. Never used to use it. I've seen people talk about it. I've seen Seattle Coffee Gear do a test on it. They actually don't like it. But you know what? I do. I found that if I agitate the grounds a little bit, and then I do the wonderful James Hoffman agitation later, you're aiming for a flat bed of grounds. Now everybody's seen this kind of extraction, right? See that volcano looking hole? That was giving me more bitter coffee. my apologies. It took a little over a week and a half to get you this video, but as you saw why, I broke my original Chemex. This is the replacement. I feel bad because a really good friend of mine gave me that when I was first getting into coffee 3-4 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. And I started with some bright yellow packets from Colombia. I can't even remember the name, but if you know what they are, leave a comment below. And they were instant coffee. Then there's the red, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name, but there's that very standard, been around for ages. You saw the red plastic bottle, used to be a metal tin, and everybody and their brother's grandfather had one of those tins that kept nuts and bolts in them in their garage, that kind of industrial standard coffee. You saw I had to live on that for a little while. That was at the work office though, not in this house. And then I went from there to a Keurig. And the good friend who sent me my first Chemex also sent me a big box of Keurig, and I had to get through it. But that's where I found something. That's where I found just how much those little pods can't really develop any kind of flavor. I think I cut one open one time to see what they were ground at as I started with my little single blade coffee grinder. You know, the ones you kind of have to shake with the little clear lid and the little button to figure out what I should grind, because I was trying to match the Keurig. And it wasn't that great. And the Keurig was hot and then cold, and then it was really kind of, I think as I developed some kind of palate, it was really watered down. And so my good friend Derek sent me one of these just out of the blue. I was kind of floored, and I had to learn how to make a little bit better cup of coffee. So that's when I really started realizing, a little bit older I get, I'm kind of a middle-aged man, that it was sneaking up on me that I liked mornings. I liked to be up at the crack of dawn. I liked the stillness, the light, and the process of making coffee other than sticking a little cup in a plastic machine and pushing a button and making weird noises. This, I had to measure my time and pay attention, but it was therapeutic as well, because as you open the beans and you measure them, that smell kind of takes over. And then you grind them and the smell gets bigger. And as you do it day after day after day, you start to pay attention to, like, that smells like flowers, or that smells chocolatey. That's kind of the predominant thing in a lot of coffees. And then, hey, that smells like a little bit of this particular fruit, or that's more earthy, or that's more floral. And I started paying attention to that stuff, and I've actually just recently got a notebook to start keeping track of it. But I started with some local coffee here in Memphis, and it really wasn't doing much for me. In fact, I thought it was kind of over-roasted. It was more bitter, which, sure, I'm guessing back then 50% of that was me just learning, but I couldn't get any kind of good taste out of it. So I found an online subscription from a kind of almost a worldwide coffee company, and I'll be talking about who they are in an upcoming episode. It's not sponsored at all, but I really like them. I've had this subscription for about 2-3 years now, and I absolutely love it. And it's really changed. Okay, now I know I've got good coffee, and now I know that if I grind to a certain extent and I time it and the heat, I've paid attention to those things over time, and that's just kind of the therapy that this thing provides. So everybody knows that this and the Hario and anything that's a pour over can make a great, fantastic cup of coffee. And now one of the things I'm discovering is I'm about to spend some more money. And I think I've found out where my issue is in not being consistent, and I'll talk about that in the next episode. So thank you for coming back. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. I would love it if you'd subscribe and help me build this channel. That would be fantastic. Everybody knows that these make fantastic cups of coffee, but what do you do? What is your favorite pour over? What is your favorite cup of coffee? What do I need to learn? I would love to hear from you, so thank you very much. We'll see you in the next episode. I didn't wash this before I brought it up here, and it still smells like the last cup. It's very caramelly. Man, that's actually pretty darn good.